All right, stick with me. We're about to see a boy get his head sliced clean off. But the moment they leave, he just wakes up and stitches it back on. See, this kid was just a gamer who finished a title as a Cleric of Decay. He got pulled into the game world immediately after, possessing only two things from his character: a simple orders habit and a squirming hand on his chest. That's the hand of the Mother of Decay, and it's literally grafted to his body. Every single race in this world hates his order, making the boy a total outcast. As the Mother's sole disciple, he's actually a human enhanced by strange drugs. Because of that, he now possesses strength that no normal man could ever have. He used to faint at the sight of blood, but now, he is stone cold. No amount of gore makes him flinch anymore, though he has lost his sense of taste. Now pay attention, his only real concern is that he's lost his sense of taste. That creepy hand on his chest, constantly, identifies other murderers in the crowd. It urges him to eliminate everyone, signaling specific numbers with its fingers. A higher number means he can perceive more holiness in the people nearby. When they die, he can summon terrifying monsters using the Mother's dark powers. After a while, he was finally on the verge of gaining his priest identity. Once he got that identity, he headed straight to a guild to find work. At the counter, the attendant announced she needed to conduct a quick verification. After managing some documents, he just stood there, waiting in total silence. The young attendant presented him with a job and said she'd enjoy working together. She was so happy to find someone who could actually read all the terms. Seeing Marach understand everything impressed her, as most people need her to read aloud. This was no trouble for him, since he mastered the game fundamentals already. Once he finished reading the documents, only one singular question remained in his mind. Before embarking on the mission, Marach collected half of the payment for himself. While she explains why, he's busy arguing with the goddess in his head. You and I both know his luck is changing. Watch this part carefully. He finally exits the building, but the hand is still trying to constrict him. Amidst this internal conflict, a voice calling him Father Marach suddenly startles him. The speaker is a young man with a chubby face and a genial look. While Marach listens, only the mention of his own name really registers. Trailing this guy, Pierre, the main character hears him rambling about monsters and ghosts. A second man suddenly emerges and calls Pierre to come over right now. This individual has a massive facial scar and a very severe expression. Pierre apologizes to Marach, explaining that he needs to proceed on ahead. Left behind, the main character still struggles with the hand's urge to kill everyone. He tells the goddess that coins are necessary for his survival this winter. Suddenly, the hand goes quiet, and he feels its sudden, heavy stillness. Placing his hand over his chest, he asks the goddess not to feel sorrow. No matter what he says, however, she still consistently desires a new sacrifice. Marach shifts his attention, inquiring about the judgment of the people around him. They share a unique language only the two of them understand. She uses her fingers to signal numbers, marking people for a dark end. And trust me, you and I are about to see things get darker. Stick with me, we're about to watch him earn divinity by finger counts. This shows each soul's value, and 10,000 are needed for authority. Through the system, he can pull divinity from ancient sacred relics. Only 12 relics exist, and the dark goddess promised they fulfill desires. The Mother of Corruption promised that gathering them all fulfills his desire. He desperately wants to get his sense of taste back for food. As he thinks, Pierre returns with orders not to bother our hero. The young soldier precisely explains that the captain said leave him alone. The main character was not to be disturbed by anyone at all. Marach, ever gracious, says everything is fine and they should not worry. He watches the crowd, sensing an unusual development. Now pay attention, an ambush triggers as arrows fly everywhere. Arrows rain down as Marach instantly pulls Pierre close to protect him. He tosses the youth aside so he doesn't get hit by arrows. But the projectiles keep coming, and several strike Marach's body hard. Pierre watches in horror as the main character takes multiple severe hits. The attackers fire again, making sure every single arrow finds its mark. Falling to the dirt after being hit repeatedly, Marach does not move. He thinks they are just bandits, but a dark voice wants blood. The goddess wants him to fake his death and steal their divinity. Rising up, Marach tells the goddess she already knows his true heart. He refuses to play along with her twisted game any longer now. Standing tall, he grabs a nearby sword to handle things his way. Trust me, he tells the goddess he will never use her methods. Taking a combat stance, he grips the sword tightly and prepares to strike. He surges forward, resolved to fight this battle on his own terms. The ambushers cannot believe he is still moving after taking those hits. Marach moves fast, cutting them down without hesitation. The others see his power and immediately back away in pure fear. Their scarred leader clenches his jaw, realizing this man is a monster. He tells his men to leave the main character to him alone. Marach watches as his determined opponent gets closer for a real duel. They begin to trade brutal, high-speed sword strikes with each other. The scarred man smiles, while Marach stares back with a cold resolve. Their combat turns vicious as they trade blow after blow. Both jump back, watching each other very closely. Marach feels the goddess's hand, starting to evaluate his strong opponent's value. The crazed blonde man demands to know who our hero is talking to. Their swords clash again in a massive explosion of force. This tall blonde foe thinks he can actually win this lopsided fight. But the battle remains dead, even as the assessment finally finishes up. The system reveals that the man's power value is 2.5. Marach cannot believe a simple mercenary has the rank of a forest guard. He smiles, realizing this whole situation is completely in his favor now. Let's see what he does next together. He takes an aggressive stance as the enemy closes the gap instantly. The blonde fighter shatters Marach's sword, sending the blade into the snow. He is already grinning, thinking he has won now that his opponent is weaponless. As Marach checks his broken blade, the villain mocks his cheap stainless steel. He scoffs, telling Marach there is absolutely nothing special about him at all. The blonde adds that killing him is just a final chore before leaving. Marach just lets the hilt fall, clearly planning a much deadlier approach. Trust me, you and I are about to see him make a huge mistake. Ending this now, while they were both still smiling, seemed like a plan. But first, Marach has one last proposition for the arrogant fighter. He tells the man to walk away and just quit right now. If he agrees, Marach promises to go easy on him during the fight. The guy just laughs it off. He is not planning on going anywhere. But then, thwack, an arrow slams right into Marach's head mid-smile. The blonde looks back at his archers, glad they finally showed up. As our main character collapses into the snow, the villain orders his men forward. He is ready to finish everyone off and leave no witnesses behind. Suddenly, a chilling voice asks if they are really sure everyone is dead. Marach slowly lifts his head, making them jump out of their skins. Now watch this part closely. This is where the real horror starts. The man who just took an arrow to the brain literally stands up. Standing there in the cold, he just laughs at their pathetic attempts. He grabs the arrow in his skull and snaps it with bare hands. He tells them they have probably never seen anything like this before. The entire group is paralyzed as the blonde leader starts sweating bullets. Marach clasps his hands, reminding them that he gave them a chance. Instead of walking away, they decided to put an arrow in him. The blonde man's eyes go wide with pure, unadulterated terror. You and I both know what is coming. Fire everything, he shouts. A green aura erupts around Marach as more arrows fly toward him. Ignoring the attacks, he begins praying to the goddess of corruption. The enemies cannot believe he is still standing through this holy ritual. As his prayer continues, the terrified soldiers try to run for it. But an invisible force keeps them locked in place like statues. His prayer was heard, the divine boundary has been set. This is the true power a corruption priest needs to unleash hell. There is no escaping now. This barrier locks everyone inside with him. The commander realizes they are trapped like rats with nowhere to hide. Their only hope is to try and break through that wall. But looking back, they feel something absolutely evil creeping up. The men scream for their captain as a reptilian beast appears. It is massive, radiating a level of power that is off the charts. The monster strikes the ground, shattering the earth beneath their feet. Their eyes are wide with shock as they face a real demon. And trust me, you and I wouldn't want to hear that roar. All right, you and I are about to see these elites experience absolute terror. The knights who once followed Valorous were now crying, terrified for their lives. Marach just grinned as he listened to his enemies beg for mercy. Later, tracks in the snow confirmed he had wiped them all out. After the fight, he wondered if gathering the divinities was necessary. Could he keep them from vanishing if he took their physical forms? He needed a plan, especially with the guild watching his every move. On the ground he found Pyr, brought down by a single arrow. Marach decided to finish this and finally let Pyr find some peace. If he saved him, his reputation would skyrocket. He called his goddess. A bit later, we see a mysterious figure holding a golden chalice. Now watch this. A woman asks what happened to the relic thief. She heard the thief was eliminated on the spot. No hesitation. The head was gone, so she demanded to know the body's location. As Marach walked away, a young man called out to him. Seeing the chalice, he warned Marach about its potential return. Marach then mentioned going on a pilgrimage, which felt pretty sudden. Was this really about that prophecy? Marach confirmed it was. It was exactly as predicted, and he had someone to find. 10 years ago, every religious order received a prophecy about the end. Carrying Pyr through the snow, the weight of the past felt heavy. Life would become a shell as the end times descended upon them. Seeing him approach with Pyr, the guards rushed out to meet him. Marach was startled by a voice welcoming him back so soon. Wait for it, a redhead suddenly appears, claiming she has permission to enter. During their chat, she admitted she never guessed he was this strong. That made him feel awkward, but then she mentioned the bag's contents. She claimed that sack was the source of every single problem he had. It would be better to give it to the guild instead. Walking through the city, she asked if he had a place to stay. If not, he was welcome at her house. The main character just stared. A slight blush appeared, but his jealous goddess wanted her dead. While his inner goddess raged, Marach actually agreed to go with the beautiful redhead. Now he's resting, the goddess's hand on his chest as he watches. Looking at the sky with a calm face, he felt satisfied. He thought he just took a nice lady's offer for a bed. Suddenly, a knock at the door caught his attention. He looked up. The redhead was standing at the entrance, greeting him with a smile. With the door open, she said she would let him rest. Marach put on his slippers as she mentioned an urgent matter. Facing the girl still at the door, he asked what was wrong. His eyes widened when she said the Lord requested his presence immediately. With the girl still waiting, Marach wondered why they wanted him. As she explained, we see a massive, perfectly kept mansion nearby. And that's where we leave it. Someone inside is sipping tea. Stick with me, you and I are about to witness a very tense meeting. The butler bows and exits. We're finally facing the mysterious Lord Giz. With his dark hair and beard, the Lord stares Marach down with an unsettling intensity. He immediately asks about his brother's final moments on the battlefield. As tea is served, Marach just lets out a dark, knowing smile. He remembers when the Mother of Corruption first crossed paths with this noble. She had marked him with an X proof he wasn't actually human. Marach decides to challenge him. The demon's eyes widen in shock. He realizes the main character knows exactly what he's hiding under that skin. That X mark is more than just a brand, it's a silent warning. It signals a monster hiding in plain sight among the humans. Demons are stronger than men, but many choose to stay hidden. Surviving in this world requires them to form dangerous packs. That's exactly why these demons are always lurking around humans. The gods, however, absolutely hate these creatures and their deals. They declared that anyone siding with them is just as evil. They're all labeled as monsters, and the hunt is officially on. This is Marach's mission. He closes his eyes and considers the difficulty. Demon contractors are a dangerous breed that most people rightfully avoid. He remembers exactly why he chose this path in the first place. Now pay attention here, this is where the conversation gets real. He looks surprised. He mentions that his brother brought Marach here. The dead man was the reason they're meeting like this today. Lifting his tea, Giz admires Marach's skill in seeing through his disguise. The demon smirks, folding his hands with a truly sinister look. He's cunning, sure, but Marach just tells him the cold truth. He is a priest serving the Mother of Corruption herself. Shocking, right? The demon's intrigued. He didn't think that goddess had any followers left. He excitedly tells Marach to sit. Since they're alone, they can talk. He promises to be honest. This meeting wasn't just some random coincidence. As he speaks, Marach notices just how calm the monster remains. You and I can see it. He's fishing for the captain's secrets. He wants to know exactly how he died. Marach listens silently. The Lord promises to pay him well for his hard work. The player likes the sound of that and gives a small smile. He calls it a tragedy. Work was getting scarce this winter anyway. The noble was trying to set up some shady illegal deal. His brother's death during the job was a completely unexpected disaster. He sighs, saying that life is always difficult from his perspective. He stares out the window. Eventually, Marach leaves the noble's office. He's now carrying a heavy pouch filled with bright gold coins. The Lord wasn't being manipulative, he just wanted to buy the truth. Walking out, the main character reminds himself he isn't a greedy priest. Suddenly, he notices the Mother of Corruption is starting to get angry. He gently takes her hand. Trust me, you and I need to see what's next. All right, you and I are diving into a story where nothing is as it seems. He cleared his throat with a cough. Marn spoke of something eternal as gold. Something that never rusts. With a bright smile and red cheeks, he swore. He told the hand he was devoted to the goddess. It seemed moved. It started to tremble. Then, Marach placed her hand right over his heart. He promised she would always be his top priority. Later, as they walked, he told her there was nothing to fear. He headed back inside alone. Back at the inn, the redhead was clearly happy to see him return. She pointed him toward the priests from the teaching sect for a greeting. He smiled, wondering why they were even here. But as he looked over, a sudden wave of unease hit him. One of the priests looked back. Marach knew exactly who they were. His mother had warned him before. They carried a holy artifact. Marach carefully scanned the three figures standing there. Now pay attention, because these new arrivals are about to flip the script. Marach just watched. The man was shocked to meet a preservation priest. He called himself the balance on the scales of retribution. The man's name was Orvis. He had that intense, piercing hero look. With shining armor and a unique weapon, he looked like a threat. He introduced the big man as Corneus, and the young girl as Patina. They each greeted Marach with a formal hand over their chest. The main character saluted back, acting as polite as possible. He said it was a pleasure. Then, the redhead mentioned someone else. A blonde woman was busy checking out books in the local library. It was a relief to see other priests and sects hanging around too. He figured he'd have plenty of chances to steal that relic for himself. But there is always a catch. Every time he drains a relic, you and I both know that whenever he takes power, chaos usually follows. Was he a priest of corruption or just a straight-up villain? The priests said their goodbyes as they had a meeting with the Lord. Orvis warned our main character that their next talk would be serious. As they left, Marach noticed they all carried the exact same weapons. They were all headed toward the Lord. Then, the redhead spoke up. She mentioned that her guild usually gives priests a decent room discount. Breaking a sweat, he asked if she expected him to pay up. She just smiled and asked if he really thought she was greedy. He definitely did, but he denied it, hiding a slight blush. Then she got serious about why she was actually helping him out. She gestured to him, revealing her true, somewhat hilariously selfish motive. She wanted him to use his powers to keep the food fresh. Leaning in, she whispered, asking for a preservation blessing on their supplies. He backed away, blushing hard, wondering why she had to be secretive. She just grinned after flustering him, then she asked if he was bored. She flashed a wide grin, then asked why he looked so bored. A man entered, noticing their very cozy vibe. And trust me, you and I are going to love what comes next. Stick with me, this story heats up with Corneus, the mysterious white-haired cleric. He claimed his lack of choices was just the nature of people. From the outside, he asked the group to show respect in his name. But the redhead knew Lord Tretton would ignore stuff like that entirely. They watched her as she said the Lord was cold but efficient. She knew how to separate business from her own private feelings. She warned them to keep quiet because the Lord has many fans. The white-haired cleric wanted to find out even more about this Lord. He seemed curious, while the girl just kept on smiling at him. Marach watched everything until he decided to ask his own question. With a grin, he asked why the priest didn't visit the Lord. The priest just smiled back, mentioning they were following an ancient prophecy. That prophecy came 10 years ago, and Marach feared the world's end. Our main character broke a sweat when he realized they suspected the Lord. Now pay attention. Everything changes because they believe the Lord is a total fiend. Standing close to the Lord, the two clerics approached to greet him. Suddenly, their holy relic started glowing with an intense, bright light. Seeing that light meant only one thing: the person there was a demon. They held the relic high, knowing they had to eliminate him immediately. Realizing the act was over, the demon finally unveiled its genuine, monstrous form. Marach and the priest watched as a massive fire erupted from below. A giant, mutated lizard emerged from inside the Lord's private estate. Marach stared in terror, but the priest was ready for this moment. Inside the mansion, a cleric grabbed a heavy hammer, the scales of retribution. This was one of the 3 wisdom clerics taking on the demon. You saw that too, right? He swapped between an axe and a sword. Finally, he drove his blade straight into the top of the monster's skull. From a distance, you could see dust, lightning, and pure destruction everywhere. The cleric with Marach said the sky glowed because of Orvis's hammer. Orvis was fighting a demon, and the priest rushed off to help. Marach went the opposite way, telling the priest he would follow them soon. He ran back to the inn and called for the redhead, Aaron. Aaron was startled, rushing over to ask what the situation was. The main character looked intense, only asking about a specific place's location. Grabbing her, Marach asked for the location of Pierre's treatment center right now. Aaron was confused as our main character jumped away to a safer spot. He escaped the wreckage with massive urgency, moving faster than anyone could track. The young woman carried by Marach looked at the total chaos around them. People everywhere were crying for someone to save their lives. Far off, the massive lizard demon loomed over the entire city. The main character was already on top of it, swinging his hammer. Aaron could only watch in silence as the world fell apart around them. The battle was far from over, and the destruction was reaching its peak. It was a desperate struggle for survival against an enemy that wasn't human. And that's where we leave it. You and I just watched a legend begin. Stick with me, she's screaming to warn the main character about a beast. That massive reptile was uncontrollable, but Marach told her to ignore it. He didn't care about the monster and only wanted Pierre's location. Noticing his worry, she pointed the way so he could save him. Focused and determined, he raced forward, repeating Pierre's name in his head. Inside the wreckage, he finally found Pierre lying motionless on a mattress. The entire area was a total disaster zone, completely reduced to rubble. Despite the chaos, Pierre remained peaceful and unconscious, unaware of the danger. Marach knew he couldn't let him die, not after coming this far. Pierre was heavy, but Marach easily hoisted him onto his shoulder. Then he told Aaron to hop on his back for the ride. She was self-conscious being so close, her heart racing as they moved. Now watch, she's blushing as he leaps forward at lightning speed. Full speed ahead, Marach sprinted with everything he had to finish this. While they raced, Aaron looked like she was thinking of something important. She shouted that she knew a shortcut. He yelled back, asking where it was. Pointing ahead, she told him the path lay straight in that direction. She warned him about a house with a secret passage coming up soon. The entrance was locked tight, but that didn't stop Marach at all. He smashed right through, leaving Aaron looking absolutely shocked and stunned. Despite a small slip, he didn't lose any speed, charging ahead. She couldn't believe his brute force as she stared at the broken door. Stunned, she whispered about his incredible strength while they kept moving along. He set her down and told her to use the tunnel to escape. She looked back, confused why he wasn't coming with them to safety. He explained he had to go back and save the other priests. With Eren and Pyr safe, he turned back toward the heart of battle. Seeing them clear of the danger, he knew their survival was now possible. Eren just watched him go, completely blown away by his massive power. After a long run, Marach finally arrived, but his expression went cold. You and I both know this look, things just took a dark turn. He found a priest on the ground, beaten and covered in deep wounds. It was Corneus, the stout man with white hair and a single horn. Despite being near death, Corneus felt Marach arrive and opened his eyes. Marach looked at him with pure sadness, seeing his life fading fast. He realized right away that there was nothing he could do to save him. He knelt down to talk as the old man drew his final breaths. Corneus choked out the news, their friend Patina didn't make it. Marach looked over and saw her body thrown violently against the cold wall. He asked if there was any way left to kill the demon monster. Corneus told him about the white sword, a legendary artifact for the job. Priest Orvis had already driven the blade deep into the creature's skull. He told Marach to grab that sword and finish the beast for good. Shove the sword into its brain, and the creature will finally die. His hand drops, it's over. You and I just witnessed a true hero fall. All right, stick with me, because we are jumping right into the aftermath of a massive explosion. Marach calls out to his dark goddess, the mother of corruption, ready to strike. He needs that relic. Meanwhile, Orvis is still desperately holding back the demon. Against the demon, Marach swings the hammer of retribution with all his might. He tries to drive the blade deeper, but his efforts are barely making a dent. It only makes the reptile angrier. The beast begins thrashing its body wildly. Its tail and limbs whip around in every direction. Suddenly, our main character starts sprinting. Knowing this is his only opening, he launches himself forward like a human bullet. He slams another blade deep into the creature, right near its massive tail. He sees Marach up ahead gripping the sword, but then the main character notices something. The reptile's movement looks wrong. Marach feels it too and starts to panic. Something big is coming. The beast plants its feet firmly, bracing for a devastating move. Its jaws rip open. Marach realizes too late it is the legendary death spin. The impact sends him flying back, crashing through the air with bone-breaking power. Now here is where it gets desperate. Marach whispers to his dark goddess. His legs are completely shattered. Laying there, he can barely even move at all. He admits she was right. Pain brings true understanding. A creepy smile grows on his face. Despite the agony, he knows he succeeded. He did it. He looks to his side and sees the sacred relic nearby. A huge sigh of relief escapes him. He grabs the relic, enjoying this wild turn. Holding the sword to his chest, he tells the goddess of corruption his plan. He is offering her the sacred item, but he wants a new power in return. You and I both know nothing comes for free. A strange hand reaches from his pocket. As the relic is handed over, the main character asks for a seal to be broken. Every sacred relic has enough divinity to grant him a brand new authority. This item has 11,123 units of pure divinity. He is thrilled as a massive wave of glowing green energy completely wraps around him. The seal is breaking. He asks the goddess what kind of power he earned. Instead of answering, she just hops off his chest and starts running across the dirt. Her fingers dig into the ground as she flees. Marach watches her leave, totally content. From a distance, her mere presence is enough to keep him going. He loves watching her grow, but he knows their situation is still incredibly dangerous. Things are risky, so he decides to stop playing around and get serious. His voice deepens as he summons the Mother of Corruption. She answers him. Floating before her, he offers up another 10,000 units of his divinity. He wants a second authority. With the transaction complete, he looks incredibly satisfied. The deal is done. Marach is buzzing with his newly obtained godlike power. A massive magical seal starts forming under his feet. It is finally happening. Behold the script of corruption. This power has simple but terrifying effects. Marach wears a curious look as the script activates. This is getting wild. Dark green patterns spread across his body, glowing with intense metaphysical energy. His stats are skyrocketing. He tells the goddess this authority is perfect. He realizes this is the edge they need to win this entire battle. He stands up, brushes off the dust, and feels his legs healing. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, the real carnage starts next. All right, let's see what happens next. He spots the priest's body. Orvis is lying there completely still, and he's definitely seen better days. Marach figures that giant lizard must have sent the poor guy flying. They probably hit the dirt at the same time. Rest in peace. But business is business, so he decides to harvest the body's divinity. He reaches out, making the move, and that eerie green energy flows. Meanwhile, that massive reptile is still absolutely losing its mind right now. Its eyes are glowing blood red as it swings that heavy tail. Every heavy stomp keeps Marach on edge. Something here feels totally off. Pay attention here, because our main character is trying to solve a puzzle. He's wondering why this thing is still so aggressive toward him personally. Those clerics from the knowledge sect were the ones who brought it here. But even with those guys gone, this demon is still totally fuming. As he thinks the absorption finishes, he's just gained a huge power boost. 1,000 units of divinity added to the bank. He stares down the beast, knowing demons aren't just mindless wild animals. Just then, the divine hand starts to emerge slowly from his pocket. He warns it that things are about to get real ugly soon. He tells it to get ready. Those metallic green tattoos start spreading. Glowing marks crawl up his face and arms. The transformation is beginning. Marach sees his own reflection, staring back from the monster's massive eye. He bursts forward, aiming straight for one of the giant creature's front legs. The beast swings its tail again, smashing everything in its path aside. Seeing the chaos makes him snap. Veins are popping out of his neck. He scans the area and finally finds it. The white sword is there. It is buried deep in the reptile's skull. He makes a break for it. You saw that too, right? The beast is tilting for another strike. He's not letting this one hit, even with that terrifying mouth roaring. Marach stands his ground, and his hand finally grips the sword hilt. That same trick won't work on him twice. He's ending this now. Using the monster's own weight against it, everything around them is burning. Glass shatters as the town falls apart. Suddenly, Marach begins to cough. He looks down at his hand. There's way too much blood on it. Spikes erupt from the beast's back as it launches a final assault. He shifts his stance. He's running out of time. His body is failing. He's rotting from the inside. If this fight goes on much longer, the corruption is going to overflow and take him down for good. That's game over for him. He leaps up and grabs the sword. He remembers the plan. He needs to shove the blade deep inside. If he pierces the demon's brain, this whole nightmare is finally over. Holding tight, he yanks the blade right out of the beast's head. He gives a cold smile and commands the Lord to wake up. A blinding light explodes everywhere as Lord Tretton finally begins to awaken. A dark silhouette appears in the center of that light. Everyone's shocked. You and I just saw a god born. That monster's toast. Stick with me. The sky just erupted with a light so blinding it's unreal. A massive explosion of energy swallows the entire city in a white haze. Even far away, our red-haired girl in Pier can feel the shockwaves. She rushes to the door, desperate to see what just went down. As the light fades, we see the Lord collapsed on the dirt. He's battered and bruised, but Marach just smiles and asks if he's conscious. The Lord manages a weak grin. With his one good eye, he looks up. He's just happy to see Marach again after everything that happened. Marach points to the white sword, blaming it for this whole mess. Then he holds out his hand, reminding the Lord he owes him 2 gold coins. The Lord doesn't even mind. He seems totally fine with the deal. Taking Marach's hand, he slowly tries to pull himself back up. Now watch closely. Far away, a mysterious mage begins to act. She gathers energy in her hand, those piercing blue eyes glowing with power. It looks like she's casting a high-level tracking spell. She sends the magic out, letting it guide her toward its target. The trail is hot. Someone powerful was definitely standing right here. Standing with her is a cloaked man, watching every single move. The old man is covered in scars, confirming what he already feared. He stares at the ground as the magic reveals a strange, glowing herb. That sight instantly triggers a flood of dark memories from his past. He can't believe such a high power is involved, but magic doesn't lie. He's forced to accept the harsh reality of the situation. There are no bodies, but he knows for a fact he beheaded them. He remembers that day like it was yesterday. It was a lot colder back then. You and I know memories like that never truly fade away. The girl agrees that maybe monsters just came and finished the job. The old man thanks her, then asks for one more favor. He asks for one more thing, and she stays totally calm. She'll help, but only if he names the nearby towns first. While she scans the area, demonic energy starts spreading fast. Back at the ruins, Marach and the butler walk through the debris together. They reach a doorway, and the butler politely opens it for him. Marach walks in looking perfectly calm. The Lord is waiting inside. He's thrilled to see Marach, throwing his arms out in a warm welcome. The Lord laughs, telling our main character he gets more handsome every day. Still, he admits he can't find the words to thank him enough. Marach just smirks. He knows the job isn't quite finished yet. That demon is still out there, proving its own point about survival. It seems Marach actually agrees that every race deserves to live. After that massive lizard fight, rumors about Marach are spreading like wildfire. People are starting to call him the legendary demon slayer. Even Aaron is hyping it up, making the name stick even faster. Honestly, Marach is starting to really like the new title. Trust me, you and I are about to see this legend grow. You and I are about to see how this rumor mill starts churning. People claimed taking down a demon was easy work for him. This fame forced him into hiding. Later, while talking with the Lord, Marach noticed something strange. The man's wooden prosthetic legs moved perfectly. They were incredibly fluid, but the Lord admitted he only showed this to Marach. To everyone else, he faked a limp and acted completely helpless. A strange red glow hit his eyes as he revealed the price. Now pay attention here, because magic always comes with a heavy cost. Marach asked what it was. The man just sipped tea and smiled. He said his fine hair would eventually shed until he was bald. Like a bare autumn tree, he joked Marach wouldn't recognize him soon. Marach faked some tears, acting heartbroken, then quickly changed the subject. The Lord stared into his cup and asked if Marach was free. A client specifically requested the demon slayer for a top-secret mission. Word had spread fast, and everyone wanted Marach for their jobs. Word of the demon slayer was spreading interest everywhere. The task involved finding sacred relics from a legendary lost empire. Marach was hooked, especially with 5 gold coins on the table. He got a down payment too, with a chance for more. If he succeeded, he could keep one of the ancient relics. You see that look, he knows something we don't about them. With a grin, he realized he needed to see them for himself. He told the Lord he was in and officially accepted the quest. He knew this empire once ended the era of chaotic sorcerers. They created advanced technology that still works thousands of years later. Their ancient tech still works today, including many high-tier items. Most powerful artifacts today are just relics from that old empire. The leader introduced himself as Carmen Valtez, a name Marach knew. Carmen quickly explained that the famous Anthony Valtez was his father. But to avoid confusion, he admitted he was an illegitimate son. Marach smiled, thinking the Black Wolf was usually a man of honor. He fathered a secret child after his wife died, which was shocking. Marach wanted to ask for details, but knew it wasn't appropriate. He looked at the others and asked for a round of introductions. Marach looked at the others and asked for quick introductions. Carmen pointed to a hooded sorceress named Tunisia. Next, he gestured toward a massive, muscular warrior. This was Suki's, a proud member of the unicorn tribe. He said it was an honor to meet the famous demon slayer. Marach just laughed and told the big guy to call him Marach. Suki's responded that such a hero should never feel any shame. Carmen declared that the rest could be discussed en route. 2 days later, they were all huddled around a warm campfire. Carmen asked Marach if he was ever going to actually sleep. Stick with me, the next question changes everything for them. All right, let's see if Marach finally found his soulmate. With blushing cheeks, he says she's like fresh snow on a field. When asked about his type, his mind wanders to the goddess. Specifically, the goddess of corruption. Closing his eyes, Marach states he wants someone always by his side. Usually, the goddess is loud, but she's strangely quiet right now. Carmen says that kind of person would need a massive heart. The goddess seems to agree here, actually liking where this is going. Suddenly, the young man laughs. Arms raised high, declaring a heart that big would have plenty of room to finally embrace him. With a wide grin. He says he prefers women with a lot of room around their hearts. Marach notes a clear vision for the future is fine, but warns him against saying that when girls are around. Carmen says he only talks like that because of their long friendship. Marach gives a genuine smile, he feels it too. Their talk goes deep into the night. All while the goddess watches, looking just a little bit annoyed. Closing his eyes, Marach remembers her advice to always pick his allies with extreme care. Still looking at Carmen, he truly sees him as a good guy. Walking through the snow, the mage stops and says they've arrived. She lifts her hood, telling everyone that the real work starts now. Holding the key, she explains how she's going to open the ruin entrance. Getting into these ancient ruins shouldn't be hard at all. First, you need the key and the coordinates written on it. Plus, they had to translate the ancient script on the metal. For the final turn, you simply rotate the key clockwise or counterclockwise. The mage handles it. Once she slides the key into the lock, she gives it a turn. This job is hers alone since only mages can actually read this ancient language, proving why she's on the team. But Marach just watches with gleaming eyes. He knows there's an exception. Wait for it, the players, they can read it too. So Marach just keeps his own skills a complete secret. Once the portal appears, everyone gets ready to head inside. Our main character thinks his secret is still totally safe. The leader, already reaching into the portal, tells the others to follow. Now let's step inside with Marach and check this place out. The ruins are massive and well kept, even with all the vines growing over the walls. Cayman, the director, is losing his mind. He's hyped. Out of every ruin he's seen, this one is perfect. Marach keeps his cool, saying they'll definitely find some great loot. Inside these walls, he gives a little smirk. Marach was dying to see this place after only seeing pictures. He's genuinely excited, but not everyone here is feeling the joy. The mage is the total opposite, looking grumpy as ever. She's just sulking. Torches light the way as they move forward. And trust me, we're just getting started. This gets wilder. Stick with me, we're following our team to these massive ancient doors. The gates are covered in powerful, glowing magic inscriptions. Only someone with imperial blood can unlock these safely. Looking at the mage, Marach hears her confirm the blood requirement. She looks serious, explaining that since nobody here is from the Empire, they all need to prepare for a brutal fight once they open. And just like that, the massive doors swing wide open. Hordes of monsters surge out, charging straight for them. They're out for blood. The serious warrior grabs his heavy axe. He readies his defense and charges in to clear a path. Meanwhile, the mage keeps casting spells while dodging every attack. Her magic rips the ground apart, light bursting through the cracks. Monsters start dropping as massive explosions erupt from the earth. Blinding light fills the room, turning the area into a war zone. The blasts detonate everywhere, vaporizing any monster in their way. Marach watches them fly. He grips his sword, ready for anything. If anything gets close, he's ready with his razor-sharp blade. Armed with insane power, the main character finally joins the fray. As a top-tier fighter, he leaves only carnage behind. But one thing bothers him. His goddess warned him about corruption. Suddenly, a blade swings at him, but he parries it easily. He turns around to see a monster with a sword for a hand. He stares at the creature, not expecting another ambush here. Watch carefully, Marach decides to take this thing out instantly. Suddenly, something smashes the monster's head. Marach blinks in surprise. An arrow barely misses him, piercing right through the monster's skull. He doesn't even flinch as the beast falls to the floor. He just looks at the leader, who fired that shot. Marach silently thanks the leader for that incredibly fast reaction time. Nearby, the unicorn man is yelling at the mage for her recklessness. But the mage says this was the fastest way possible. She tells them to stop whining since the monsters are dead. You and I saw that coming, right? This team is falling apart. The young man is furious. The gentle unicorn guy is fuming. He bares his fangs and sulks with his back turned away. He's clearly livid. Meanwhile, the leader starts praising our main character. Marach is usually so gentle, but now he feels quite ashamed. He hates that they saw his more violent, darker side. Marach compliments Carmen back, impressed by his skills with the bow. Carmen just smiles, saying he's worked hard to master his aim. But the mood isn't all happy. The tension is still high. The mage asks if they're finally ready to keep moving. She wants to explore more, but the others just stare her down. She grips her staff, claiming she still has plenty of mana. Trust me, you and I need to see what happens next. He was so furious he mocked the mage, calling her a magic mutterer. He blamed her impatience, but she argued that everyone needed more rest. She kept provoking Succus, claiming he was just desperate for some attention. But the expedition leader had the final say, siding with the unicorn. The leader sided with Succus. Trust me, this team is about to crumble. Carmen declared the matter closed, ignoring the mage's obvious anger and frustration. They would rest now, and he didn't want to hear another word. Marach watched them, thinking about how every single mage was so conceited. In this world, magehood was easy. You were simply born with it. If you had mana, it would manifest once you hit a certain age. That is when ancient linguistic knowledge would flood into their minds. They would suddenly speak the ancient tongue and receive a magic staff. They could draw mana from their veins to defy the world's laws. Marach knew that as born mages, they had every advantage from birth. Most of them refused to learn anything else, becoming dull and stubborn. Like those before them, the majority grew unival and incredibly irritable. Seeing her deal with Succus, Marach figured she was just too prideful. Honestly, though, she was actually quite polite compared to other mages. Despite her temper, she kept her critiques short and not too severe. After a short rest, the chief announced it was time to advance. Their next goal was the adjacent sector, and everyone stood ready. The chief ordered them to move. Now watch, everything is about to break. Suddenly, a roar like an immense beast echoed through the dark passageway. A massive cloud of dust and wind slammed into the four members. Right then, the leader noticed the doors behind them had sealed shut. The others turned to look just as an enormous creature descended. It was a silver-bodied entity with a glowing blue orb on its head. That cranial core seemed to be what was keeping the beast alive. Marach just smiled. He found the existence of this monster unbelievable. He thought the enemies were feeble. You and I saw that smile. He had presumed the adversaries within the ruins would be much weaker. But looking at this silver monster, he knew the real threat arrived. Succus tried to keep it together, but sweat covered his shaking forehead. The unicorn man prepared for combat, but the mage ordered a retreat. She stepped forward, channeling arcane power into the tip of her staff. Using composed gestures and an ancient chant, she launched her powerful spell. The attack flew straight toward the formidable silver monster, threatening the party. Her goal was explicit: collapse the roof to bury the beast alive. She planned to crush it with debris and end this fight now. But to their total shock, the colossal entity remained completely unharmed. The mission chief scowled as the entire situation fell apart. He realized things were getting bad and prepared to jump in. He screamed a desperate warning, but you and I know it's too late. Panic gripped the team as they realized their magic had completely failed. They were trapped, and the real battle was only just beginning. All right, stick with me. This attack is about to go horribly wrong. Her magic just wasn't enough. Warning too late. On the monster's brow, a brilliant blue light flared, signaling a massive, destructive power-up. The beast unleashed its force, instantly crushing every incoming rock into dust. Total annihilation. Watching this terrifying display of power, the group just froze. Terror paralyzed the 3 front members. Then, the ceiling started to collapse. Burning rock fragments rained down, leaving Tunisia with absolutely nowhere to run. Seeing her friend's despair, she looked up and accepted her fate. Death was coming. The monster lunged forward, ready to deliver a lethal blow. Now watch this. The creature's massive fist slams down right onto the mage. In an instant, she's gone. Even the grumpy unicorn man felt the tragedy. Grief hit him hard. This loss was just too much for anyone to handle. Suki's froze, standing there like a sitting duck. Marach saw it coming. He screamed at Suki's to move, to get out of the monster's path. But the warning never reached him. He just wasn't fast enough to react. The strike landed perfectly, and a massive explosion lit up the entire area. Boom, the unicorn man took a direct hit, with no way to defend himself. He was wide open. Now, the silver colossus turns its glowing eyes toward the survivors. Its core burned blue as it locked onto the last 2 men standing. Marach turned to the leader. He had one question: do you really want to live? When the leader says yes, Marach clenches his fist. No turning back now. You and I both know Marach has a plan, but the leader, he's clueless. Confused by the main character's vibe, he didn't see the knockout blow coming. Lights out. In a flash, the leader was out cold. Holding his comrade, Marach never breaks eye contact with the beast. Remember that secret ally he mentioned? Yeah, it's finally time to call it in. The monster had no clue what kind of being was about to appear. A massive entity materializes, its hands locked and ready to deliver some pain. This new ally drops down like a hammer, crashing right into the enemy. Total impact. While his summon handles the fight, Marach starts making his move. With the leader on his shoulder, he escapes, leaving the heavy lifting to his ally. He looks back, feeling safe knowing his summon has everything under control. In a desperate situation like this, it's good to have a god-tier bodyguard. On his way out, he finds the mage's remains and harvests 1,000 divinity. Next up, the unicorn man. That's another 100 units added to the stash. Brutal, right? Anyway, he leans the unconscious Carmen against a wall. With the leader safe, the young man stops to think about his next move. This fight might take a while. Even his summon can't win this instantly. It's gonna be a grind before that silver monster finally stays down. Suddenly, the hand of the goddess of corruption starts twitching in his pocket. Marach's face goes dead serious. Everything is going exactly according to plan. No more hesitation. His green tattoos flare to life, pulsing with power. He charges back into the battle, ready to finish this fight for good. His eyes are locked on the blue core, inside that mechanical beast's head. And trust me, you and I don't want to miss what happens to that jewel. All right, you and I are jumping right back into this monster battle. The main character spotted that gem, the only vulnerability on that metallic body. Shattering that core was the only way to shut this thing down. He leaped onto the beast's back, vaulting high toward that glowing weak point. Up close, he noticed the jewel perfectly tracking every move he made. Without hesitation, he delivered a crushing strike, smashing the core to bits. His eyes still glowed green as he descended to the ruined ground. With the core gone, the metal titan froze before crashing down hard. The massive mechanical threat was finally finished, completely lifeless now. The corruption goddess's beast let out a thunderous roar to celebrate their victory. Marach offered a silent thanks to the creature for its vital help. Suddenly, the goddess pointed her hand toward a dark, distant corner. Suspicious, he followed her gaze, asking her what was happening over there. But watch this, 3 more colossal giants dropped from the ceiling. Marach's face went pale as he faced these new adversaries. The new mechanical enemies were staring directly at him and the beast. Taking on 3 more of those metal monsters was a suicide mission. With a grim look, he wondered just how many more were coming. He retreated from the combat zone to find the expedition's leader. The man woke up and immediately asked where the rest were. Marach delivered the tragic news: they never even had a chance. Carmen thought about the giants, and realized they needed that key earlier. If only they had activated it sooner, things might be different. Marach stopped his self-blame, reminding him everyone knew the stakes here. The mage and the unicorn man understood the risks they were taking. Intrigued, the leader asked what kind of place they had found. Let that sink in, they're finally standing before the legendary Black Gate. The man's eyes went wide, unable to believe they were actually there. He squeezed his eyes shut, trying to process this impossible new reality. Despite the confusion, he decided it wasn't the time for more questions. Marach swore an oath to Voltus to settle his heavy debt. With a calm look, the holy man said he'd be waiting. Back in the hallway, Marach suggested they keep moving if he's ready. Those metal beasts weren't finished yet, they had to move fast. One giant was down, but more had forced him to pull back. Exhausted, he had barely managed to force the doors open. He had to literally kick Carmen inside to get them to safety. Marach told the beast of corruption to leave, but return soon. He knew she'd reappear the moment he needed her help again. Walking along, Marach examined the strange composition of the stones. He looked up, stunned by the incredible archaeological finds surrounding them. Standing before a massive portal, Marach announced they'd reached the end. The cleric told Marach he could explore the site however he liked. They carefully pushed the portal open and stepped into the final chamber. Stick with me, those two relics change everything. Stick with me, seeing the luminous pedestal, he realizes the tales were actually true. Facing Marach, the young man tells the cleric he wants to request a special favor. Despite lacking the right to ask, he still hopes for a life-changing boon. He asks, voice uncertain, if he might keep the necklace and pledges ample payment. Maintaining his signature smile, the cleric asks what this necklace truly is. Carmen explains the artifact is known as the legendary lineage pathfinder. He reveals that with just one drop of blood, it acts as a guide. It uses the wearer's blood to point toward any living person in their family line. Marach briefly shuts his eyes, instantly guessing the boy's deepest aspirations. With a look of understanding, the leader sees he is searching for his mother. Marach listens quietly as the young man tells the story of his missing mother. The boy faces the cleric, waiting to hear if he can keep the amulet. The cleric agrees but asks for something in return. He wants to keep the blade. Leaving the sacred site, they light a fire and rest under the night sky. They both avoid those massive metal blocks, the memories of recent hardship still heavy. Putting on the necklace, Carmen admits they would be lost without the priest's help. He tells Marach they would surely be adrift if he hadn't guided them. While Carmen watches him quietly, the cleric seems lost in deep contemplation. Grasping the necklace, Carmen asks the main character to consecrate the artifact. Marach gives a calm smile and agrees to bless the item for him. He touches the boy's finger lightly, creating a minor, careful puncture. The boy shuts his eyes, and a single drop of blood finally appears. Marach promises that the goddess of preservation will watch over and safeguard him. The boy places the blood drop into the amulet to serve as its magic core. Marach watches intently as the blood lands on the amulet's central plate. Now watch this part carefully, pure magic surges through the artifact. Voltus looks on with clear satisfaction as the ancient relic comes alive. He sees the necklace has become a compass, pointing toward his mother's location. Looking at the needle, he is now convinced that she is still alive. Marach voices his happiness that the legendary necklace actually worked as intended. Carmen Voltus credits the main character, unsure how to pay back such an obligation. Looking into the priest's eyes, he realizes he has one more favor to ask. Marach immediately notices the shift and gives his friend his full attention. He watches quietly, anticipating the next appeal his friend is about to make. Voltus explains they are heading west and asks Marach to join their search. He thinks visiting the capital would let him reward Marach properly for his help. Marach listens closely as the youth guarantees he will fund the entire expedition. He smiles, hoping the priest will agree to stay by his side for longer. But we both know he has a secret that makes staying with anyone impossible. He sees the boy's face, filled with hope and waiting for an answer. There is a clear expectation here, a silent hope for a positive confirmation. Sitting by the fire, Marach stays quiet, causing Voltis to feel some unease. Marach offers a faint smile, sensing he can address his companion with total honesty. Trust me, you and I just witnessed the start of an epic new journey. He smiles. Stick with me, our hero is finally ready to help these kids. Time passed at the inn, and the redhead was absolutely fuming. She thought Marach leaving so suddenly was just ridiculous and insulting. Marach just grabbed his gear and started saying his final goodbyes. Then Aaron stopped him, asking to see his hand for a second. Usually this takes forever, but she worked hard to finish it fast. The main character looked at the gift, and his gaze instantly sharpened. It was the silver mercenary badge. She hoped he got the message. But he was clueless. He just said thanks, making her even angrier. The right move was saying they would be working together again soon. She told him exactly that, finishing with a playful, cheeky gesture. Marach finally understood. He closed his eyes and gave a quiet bow. He was a nomad who never liked visiting the same place twice. Repeating routes felt like a cage, and he truly valued his freedom. Aaron teased him, saying that lifestyle would keep him forever alone. She joked that it was her duty to speak her mind here. Marach watched her, wondering what she meant about meeting again so soon. Watch this, she promised they would meet. Before he could speak, she silenced him with a finger to his lips. As a final move, she touched her own lips with a warning. It was a playful promise of punishment if they did not meet. Meanwhile, Overdose visited the Lord and saw his gleaming bald head. The Lord just smiled, claiming he finally reached his true human form. He quickly asked if Marach was planning to travel to the capital. A special letter of recommendation was then handed over to him. With a strange smile, he admitted he had no cash right now. He suggested the letter could provide help through a very trusted friend. But be careful, this friend should only be a last resort. He is a difficult man, but Marach was truly grateful. The Lord said he was happy to help a genuine comrade. He wished him a long life, knowing how quickly it can end. Let's look here, fresh tracks appearing in the snow. Two partners walked side by side, leaving the town of Geese behind. Voltis smiled, noting they had a half-day left of travel. Marach seemed happy, but he knew the mother of corruption hated Voltis. She only tolerated him because he was a brand new ally. Being part of this group could earn him 10,000 divinity points. In this world, that meant having access to some massive power. Still, the main character decided to keep his friend close. He watched his cheerful friend ahead, finding his vibrant energy contagious. He liked the guy's energy, but then the air changed. Watch this, he unsheathes his blade. He gripped his serrated blade and shouted a warning to his friend. Voltis saw the drawn sword and gave a nervous, shaky smile. He was terrified, especially seeing the main character's grim face. All right, you and I are about to see our main characters get blindsided. Something was hunting them, closing in fast. Hearing the warning, Carmem spun. An attack was coming, but Marach moved like lightning, dodging it perfectly. Then they saw it, a massive spider that literally took over the sky. This giant beast landed right near them, tangling itself in the tree branches. Carmem asked what this thing was while creeping closer to the monster. Marach identified it immediately. It was a snow spider, and it looked hungry. Now that they could see it, the creature was looking for an opening. Seeing the danger, Marach got ready, pulling out his bow and some arrows. Carm looked up and saw Marach already swinging his sword at the adversary. One kill wasn't enough. More spiders started crawling out of the shadows. Marach just gave a wild smile and told Carm he was pushing forward. He joked that before he used his blade again, he would need a bath. He lifted his sword once more, ready to keep the fight going. Now pay attention, his strike hits, but his weapon is totally ruined. His blade was a mess, and his whole body was covered in remnants. Suddenly, we shift to the ruins of Gis, where a lord greets someone. An unannounced guest arrived. A young woman with bright blue hair stood there. She told the lord not to worry, she wasn't there to cause trouble. The lord was suspicious, wondering why this mysterious blue flame appeared out of nowhere. She placed a document on the table and asked him to take a look. As he looked it over, she asked if he recognized the man inside. He looked at the paper, seeing a drawing that was honestly pretty terrible. Even though it was a bad sketch, he definitely knew who it was. Hiding his shock, he asked why they were looking for this specific guy. Sunlight poured through the window, as she said it was a private matter. The Lord scoffed, saying nobody could identify a person from a drawing like that. He told her to leave if they were done, since he was busy. Trust me, that Lord knows more than he's letting on about our hero. The woman left, and the Lord just watched her walk out the door. Alone at last, he stroked his beard and started thinking deeply about Marach. Meanwhile, back with the spiders, Voltus was poking around at the dead bodies. Marach just smiled and asked the boy what on earth he was doing. The kid explained he was looking for the snow spider's valuable venom sac. He held up the container and said these things sell for a fortune. Marach was impressed and asked how he knew so much about monsters. Harmon explained that his time spent hunting monsters gave him real-world experience. While cutting the parts out, he said this practical knowledge was extremely useful. He kept working, saying that hands-on learning is the best way to thrive. Marach tried to help while staying clear of any gross spider spray. Covered in dirt, Harmon mentioned the nearest city was a half-day trip. At that same city, guards were on high alert, watching the horizon closely. One guard spotted something moving in the distance and pointed it out. Their signals confirmed it. 2 people were approaching the main gate right now. You and I just saw a huge shift. Let's see what happens next. All right, stick with me. You and I are watching a guard stop our heroes. They somehow walked right past the barrier, leaving Marach looking completely confused. Just walking, the guard nods but warns them the city is locked down. Gates have been shut for at least 3 days, thanks to those monsters. Marach is curious now, asking the guard to explain what is happening. Turns out, these monster attacks are happening way more often lately. The guard lets slip a detail that catches Voltus by surprise. After every single attack, the bodies just vanish, no remains left at all. Everyone knows snow spiders only drink blood, they do not eat the bones. So where did they go? Suddenly, the guards call the do-over. The local noble wants to meet them right now for an audience. Now watch this, even the guards seem desperate as they rush over. One guard offers to lead the way to the big boss's estate. Marach is surprised a noble owns this place. Soon, they head inside. After cleaning up, they meet with a very portly noble at last. Marach tells him straight up, he already knows about the monster problem. The Lord nods, saying that is exactly why he called them here. He blames a dark spirit worshipper, but Marach is not so sure. Locking down an entire city for one cultist seems like total overkill. But the Lord reveals a shocker. There are at least 4 different cults. Over a massive feast, he explains that these groups are actually teaming up. He gets emotional, admitting he just took over as the new Lord. He wishes his late father was here to handle this mess properly. He points at the food, glad they still have plenty of supplies. At least the soldiers' spirits are still high for the time being. Things look okay here, but he waves a hand toward the windows. Let's pause, you saw that look, right? The city is completely isolated. Looking at Marach, the Lord begs for someone to break the siege. He needs a hero who can slip past those monsters outside. The Lord waits, shaking with nerves, hoping Marach says yes. Marach closes his eyes, thinking it over for a long moment. Finally, he agrees to help out. Later, he meets the goddess's hand. She is holding a magic artifact they took from those investigators. The main character realizes this item only comes from the desert. Marach sits down on the bed with the goddess's hand nearby. He grabs his sword and the magic box to start working. The goddess told him to put the blade inside the container. It is supposed to sharpen the edge to a lethal point. She puts a hand on his shoulder as he packs it away. She tells him to enjoy life while he can, rubbing her hands. Marach looks happy with his new gear as she stays close. With a smirk, Marach says he's wanted to do this forever. He tells the goddess the real reason he took the job. This whole situation is just too weird for him to ignore. 4 cults working together. Trust me, you and I need to see this. Alright, let's jump into a world where titles mean absolutely nothing at all. Everyone knew the main deities just handed these names out to lesser gods. You rarely find anyone sane among those who worship dark and evil spirits. Unlike the main gods who teamed up, those serving the spirits never cooperated. They just couldn't work together. That's why Marach felt something was very wrong. Acting on pure instinct, he immediately set off to investigate the situation. He rode out with the Lord's guards, but Carmen sensed something behind them. She looked up and froze in terror as her jaw hit the floor. Massive, monstrous spiders were everywhere, but Marach actually looked pretty happy. Now pay attention, this is the moment Marach decides to go solo. He offered to distract them, even as his friends screamed about the danger. Marach warned that if they didn't hurry, they'd all be caught and killed. Valtis didn't fully get it, but his eyes were wide with total shock. Letting go of the reins, Marach told Carmen to go get some backup. While the others bolted, Marach prepared to make his move from above. His companions yelled out in desperation as they saw him staying behind alone. Marach grinned, telling the goddess that his little speech worked like a charm. Suddenly, a massive explosion sent snow and ice flying in every direction. Hearing the blast, Valtis closed his eyes in grief, fearing the worst happened. The rest of the riders turned back, their hearts heavy with sudden sorrow. They saw giant, mutated wolves and swarms of spiders emerging from the white. Snakes and centipedes joined the horde, but something else was far more terrifying. You and I both know Marach is the deadliest thing on this battlefield. With a wild grin, he asked the goddess why she found this so interesting. Raising his sword, he prepared to rip through every single one of them. He was going to slaughter these grotesque monsters one by one without mercy. His blade was ready. As he cut them down, even more kept appearing. The monsters kept coming, but Marach didn't even break a sweat as he fought. He sliced through every enemy in his path, gripping his unique sword tightly. With every swing, he dealt a lethal blow to the beasts blocking his way. More spiders and terrifying creatures manifested, but they were just fodder for him. After wiping them all out with his twin blades, he finally stood down. He walked away from the carnage, looking completely satisfied with the bloody mess. He joked that fighting like this every day would require carrying a bathtub. He'd worry about that later. Right now, he was entering a very strange place. Moving forward, he couldn't believe the weird situation he had stumbled into now. The area was littered with old wheels and broken barrels from forgotten times. He looked around, remembering that these assault carriages were supposed to be empty. Walking through the wreckage, he suddenly spotted a hand near his feet. He knelt down and saw a body that was completely dried out. It was a classic spider kill. Every drop of blood had been sucked dry. Looking up, he couldn't understand why the spiders enjoyed such a grim feast. It turned out they left the corpses behind as a sick kind of decoration. He thought it was a bit much, telling the goddess there was no concern. And trust me, you and I are going to love his next move. All right, you and I are about to dive into a monster hunt. He warned her that these beasts didn't just hunt humans, they ate them. Looking around, he saw enough bodies here for a 3-day feast. They weren't just eating, they were nesting. Then he spotted Antonio ahead. Antonio was massive, but everything past this point was getting even bigger. It looked like multiple giants lived here. The scale was absolutely huge. A cold smile crossed his face as he realized what he found. Marach knew the divine entity following him was about to show up. Suddenly, dozens of eyes locked onto him as he looked toward the sky. A colossal spider, bigger than anything he had ever seen, loomed over him. This wasn't just a monster, she was their queen, the ultimate matriarch. Surrounded by her swarm, she was ready to tear Marach into pieces. Watch closely, because this is where his power starts to glow verdant. He commanded the goddess to seal the corruption with a green barrier. With that emerald light on his face, he gave a faint smile. Even with that massive arachnid looming over him, Marach was not intimidated. He told the goddess he needed her authority for what came next. After his command, his summoned beast began to manifest to back him up. He knew a sacrifice was needed today, and his fierce white beast appeared. Marach promised the legendary creature, the head of that man-eating spider. As the white beast charged into battle, green tattoos flickered on his face. The massive spider fought back, slamming its legs into the beast. The beast started losing ground as the spider's sharp limbs impaled her. That monstrous bug snarled, showing off its terrifying, razor-sharp fangs. The beast roared in agony as those many legs pierced right through her. The spider seemed to double in size, fueled by pure, unadulterated rage. It was snarling and salivating, ready to finish the job right then. You saw that look on his face, right? Marach has a plan. He drew his unique swords and started hacking through the spider's legs. He had to stop the assault and free the giant white beast. He felt a surge of energy inside the spider as he kept cutting. He was careful not to damage the creature's core parts while attacking. With his eyes glowing bright green, he searched for a way through. There had to be a weak spot somewhere on this massive monster. Attacking from underneath, he finally spotted the spider's one vulnerability. He lunged forward, nearly cutting the giant arachnid clean in half. Blood splashed across his face, but Marach just felt pure satisfaction. He took a stance, sensing the divine power throughout the monster's body. Marach leaped again, aiming to only take out the spider's sharp legs. He had to keep the divinity intact as the monster struggled. He told the beast to move in, gripping his weapon tight. He shouted for the white beast to hold the spider down. The white beast opened her massive jaws with a deep growl. She pinned the spider's legs down, exactly as Marach had requested. And that's where we leave it. Things are about to get wild. All right, stick with me, because Marach is about to pull off one of the cleanest kills we've ever seen. He realized that even for a monster, this thing was still just a spider with one major weak point. Our main character aimed straight for the midsection, planning to snap that thin skeletal frame right in half. He lunged at the opening, slicing through the narrowest part of the bone while keeping the rest of it untouched. As he made his move, his eyes flared with a menacing deep green glow and pure malice. He unleashed a devastating strike, and let me tell you, it worked exactly as planned. The spider stared back in total shock as its body split. Marach had to swing again and again because the shell was insanely tough. That carapace was incredibly dense, resisting every single cut he tried to make. While his monster kept it pinned, he kept hammering away at the exact same spot. Watch closely, here is the moment he was waiting for. The bone finally shattered, and Marach successfully sliced the massive spider in two. He jumped back as a blinding flash of light erupted from the force of the final impact. The white beast summoned by the Mother of Corruption let out a savage roar, baring its fangs. After landing that perfect blow, Marach finally touched down safely on the ground. He was a bit shocked to find himself standing right under that massive, roaring monster. It seemed like the creature was still holding a serious grudge. Knowing he'd let the beast down before, he actually offered a quick apology for running. The wild beast just roared back with its mouth wide and its claws raised high. Taking a quick look, Marach could tell the creature was still far from calm. The goddess forced out of that spider was just as furious. She crawled from the spider's mouth, only seeing Marach's feet in front of her. Feeling pretty good, Marach pointed at himself and admitted he's a pretty strange guy. This entity was definitely weird, with those piercing red eyes and strange markings on her face. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This creature looks absolutely bizarre, right? She stumbled out of the spider's maw, looking completely exhausted and totally defeated. Her plans were ruined, and Marach just smiled while asking why she attacked. Why surround the city? The wild woman just snapped back, refusing to say a word. Why would she talk? Around them, pieces of the giant spider were scattered everywhere. As the carnage settled, Marach just casually messed around with his sword. Looking down at her, he suggested that explaining the attack would be a smart move. When she stayed silent, he simply drove his blade deeper into her arm. The goddess just drooled and kept smiling, acting like the pain didn't bother her. She claimed that even if she died, she would never reveal her master's secrets. Marach smiled, knowing that would be exactly how she would react. The panic in her eyes showed she knew exactly what was coming next. With no other choice, Marach sliced her head clean off her body. His sword gleamed among the ruins as he confirmed he'd earned another 1,000 points. He wondered just how many more of these things he'd have to kill. How many more until those spirit worshippers finally start giving up some real information? A smirk played on his lips, since his main job here was finally done. With a wicked green grin, he realized he could kill as many as needed. You and I definitely wouldn't want to see that grin up close. After finishing the goddess, he turned back to see the fire below. He couldn't quite understand it. All right, you and I are jumping into a city that just went up in flames. Inside the gates, the Lord is sobbing, but the onlookers just call him a pig. They start talking reincarnation, while the blonde guy asks about the unstable girl over there. Wait, he is checking on the dark-haired woman's state, while everything falls apart around them. A different blonde with curly hair says the preparations are still nowhere near finished. She suspects they lost some people, all while staring daggers at the young woman beside her. The girl raises her hand in pure outrage, claiming she never meant for this. She blames 2 buff monks and some guy from a teaching sect for the trouble. Apparently, these 3 are still causing her a massive headache as the debate continues. They are standing by the fire, arguing right next to the Lord's cooling corpse. Then there's the escaped archer, and Carmen, who just rode off like a maniac. The curly-haired woman with the eye patch realizes their spider member is totally gone. None of them have any idea that she was already completely wiped out. The blue-eyed man thinks this is getting way too messy for their own good. Watch closely, they are letting a massive threat just walk away. Letting that kid escape is way too dangerous after years of planning this out. Their perfect strategy is on the line, and the dark-haired woman is absolutely livid. She is screaming her head off, veins popping out of her neck in rage. The blonde woman notices the blonde man isn't even paying attention to her anymore. She sees him getting way too close to the other dark-haired woman nearby. Ignoring the drama, she decides she needs to check the situation outside for herself. She's done with the talk and is heading out to see the real damage. The blonde man tells Parma to just calm down and stop making a scene. He promises to punish Illa, that spider woman, for this whole mess, which gets a reaction. Parma just smirks with a hand on her hip, saying she will keep quiet for now. But suddenly, her eyes go wide as she sees something horrifying happening right ahead. You saw that too, her head just got taken clean off. It's Marach, he just showed up and is already cutting people to pieces. The man is paralyzed with fear, staring at that bizarre sword Marach is holding. He can't take his eyes off those terrifying double-serrated blades as death approaches. In a flash, Marach splits the blue-eyed man right down the middle, literally. Parma is just frozen in terror, clutching her jaw as she watches the carnage unfold. Marach looks absolutely ghoulish, like something that crawled out of a grave to kill. He thinks killing the third person without a chat might be a little bit unfair. His face shifts into a creepy grin as he mentions they can control literal divine beings. That's a terrifying power to have, and it has the woman shaking in fear. Terrified for her life, she offers to spill every single secret she is hiding. Even Marach is surprised, since he didn't even have to break her to get info. She just starts talking, giving up everything without a second thought. Sweating and shaking, she just hopes he'll actually let her walk away after this talk. Marach stands there with a calm smile, but he is glowing with a sinister green aura. He stares her down and tells her straight up that she serves a wicked entity. Then he asks the big question, why exactly did they surround the city? And trust me, you and I just found a brand new mystery. She points toward a massive head, and the real mystery begins. All right, stick with me, because this monster is absolutely revolting. It looked like a moving ball of flesh. She explained that the entire operation was flawless, since they spent 3 years preparing it. Then, the thing appeared to be alive and buried itself in the ground. The story was simple. That woman said they had to sacrifice every citizen. She admitted they needed 5 years to get ready. But the truth is that a night's disappearance forced them to rush the whole plan. Marach heard this and grabbed a saw, ready to start cutting. Parma feared she was the target, but he walked right past her to kill the beast that ate human flesh and blood. Suddenly, the woman begged as he sliced the meat with his unique sword. She warned him to stop because the ritual wasn't done, but Marach didn't listen. He ignored her. She screamed that they were all in huge danger. Now watch closely. This is where the main character takes a hit. This unstable beast finally woke up, showing off a mouth full of sharp teeth. It rose from the blob, crying out in pain. Then, a massive eye appeared, taking over its body as something divine emerged from the flesh. Furious, Marach just stood his ground against it. He raised his hand to rip away the tentacle attacking his arm. Once it was cut off by his blade, he flashed a sinister smile. Tossing the piece down, he crushed it, vowing to offer the meat to his god. Meanwhile, Parma screamed, unable to understand what Marach was doing. She warned him that fighting this entity could end very badly. I know what you're thinking. Is he really doing this for revenge? She realized this retribution was coming from our main character's hand. Once he killed the entity, Parma earned 1,000 more divinity points. Her total was now 8,592 points. Like those evil spirits, he had also drained out the Lord's divine essence. Since the man was still down, gathering his power was pretty simple. He knew he needed 10,000 units for a new authority. Meanwhile, the giant monster was drooling while staring at Marach. He realized that just cutting this meat blob would only make it regenerate. If the fight dragged on, he would definitely lose this battle. This strange creature didn't seem to have a single weakness. It wasn't like the Spider Queen. Then, the monster with the huge eye fully emerged from the meat. Having no other choice, he gripped his sword tight. He took a stance and charged forward at full speed, confusing the beast. As he moved away, that giant red eye widened, and the creature screamed out in pure agony. Marach just got closer to the fallen citizens to take their essences. Each person only gave 1 point since they were just normal people. He moved through them, collecting points, but it still wasn't enough. While the monster chased him, Marach flashed a confident smile. He spoke to his goddess, who was already watching everything happen. She entrusted me, you and I need to see what happens next. You and I are jumping right into a showdown with this literal nightmare. Its massive eye glows bright as it lets out a bone-chilling roar. Marach looks like a gray speck to the beast as it closes in. When it bellows, the ground literally fractures under the sheer pressure. Marach has to stop and cover his ears because the sound is overwhelming. It is deafening as the colossal menace swings its massive tentacles at him. He glances back, hand already reaching for his blade in one motion. As those limbs stretch out, the monster absolutely demolishes everything around him. The impact barely misses Marach as he jumps back, calling his goddess. Now watch this part, the moment a massive void opens up overhead. Through this giant rift in the sky, the monster sees something coming. The goddess's guardian descends from above. A massive white giant appears. It clasps its hands together for a ruinous and world-shattering strike. This signature move from the goddess's giant slams hard onto the beast. A massive explosion of green particles erupts from the point of impact. Marach grits his teeth, knowing one hit won't be enough to win. In fact, the attack just made the monster even more furious now. It grinds its fangs, ready to tear into that great white giant. Suddenly, the monster drives its tentacles deep into the giant's chest. Marach is furious seeing the giant impaled. You and I saw this coming. He knows the giant can't win alone, but he screams for it. He needs a way to gather more dignity and gain divine authority. To do that, he needs more casualties from the enemy side. He hunts for the fallen spirits and cultists across the scorched battlefield. He runs through the flames, but many bodies have lost their essence. The fire has swallowed almost everything, leaving nothing but ashes behind. The goddess tells Marach that these souls are no longer useful. He should have harvested them before fighting those 3 high-level cultists. While moving, he sees his total is only 9,237. Advancing through the inferno, he knows he needs more power. He stays focused on his goal while navigating through the scorching heat. Suddenly, something strange grabs his attention in the middle of the fire. A massive explosion goes off right next to him without any warning. The force is huge, making him shield his face from flying debris. Gripping his unique sword, Marach gets ready to defend himself. Then, the beast launches its tentacles right at our main character, but he's too fast. He blocks them with his saw and chooses to keep moving instead. He needs more units before entering a losing battle. The gross creature screams the only word it knows, pain, as it thrashes around the area. It hovers right over Marach, aiming for a deadly surprise attack. But our hero just dodges it. The monster mashes its teeth in rage. It's full of pure hatred. Meanwhile, Marach stares back with glowing green eyes. His saw is ready. But wait, the tentacled entity is actually changing. It has human feet now, and its face looks eerily like a person. The tentacles are gone. Trust me, you and I won't believe what happens next. Trust me, this monster's transformation after the giant? Absolutely insane. One-eyed monster, teeth clenched, it reaches for our main character. It gives a subtle smirk while eyeing Marach from a distance. Its hand opens and tentacles suddenly erupt, shooting toward him. Marach focuses his vision, locking onto the entity before him. With insane reflexes, he slices the incoming tentacles from every angle. His saw-like sword does the work, and the creature hates it. But Marach isn't stopping. He charges forward, ready to cleave it. His green eyes sharpen as he notices a sudden shift. The monster closes the distance in a flash. It lunges aggressively, snagging Marach with its multiple tentacles. The monster applies pressure, gripping him with a crushing force. Now watch this part carefully. Things are about to get brutal. Marach is turned upside down, the ground rushing up at him. He gets slammed with immense power, shattering the hard soil. Lying with arms wide, he just stares at the sky. With a cocky grin, Marach tells his goddess he's feeling lucky. Then he asks if she remembers what the worshippers said earlier. Specifically, how they called that fallen giant figure a lord. He uses his sword for support and struggles to stand. Staying upright takes every single bit of strength he has left. Suddenly, the enemy's foot comes into view for another attack. It isn't just watching anymore, it's launching a fresh offensive. Marach sees a strange light glowing from the creature ahead. Time is running out, so he tells the goddess to gather everyone. Green flames erupt everywhere, completely swallowing the entire area. His divine power starts skyrocketing near the crowd of soldiers. As his divinity hits 10,000, Marach's whole vibe shifts. You and I both know what's coming, it's payback time. The monster watches, confused, as Marach stands in green essence. He begins to glow, offering 10,000 units to her. He offers 10,000 units of power to his goddess. A beautiful, shadowy divine presence manifests right behind him. The monster is totally lost and hates that green glow. The creature is frozen as things get real. Marach starts walking forward, looking like an absolute menace. His expression is calm, but his aura says it all. He definitely has a nasty surprise waiting for this monster. His serrated sword is locked and loaded for the kill. Closing his eyes with excitement, he makes a bold claim. He tells the monster it's about to feel massive pain. The creature's eye widens as it grinds its teeth together. Glowing green tattoos appear as Marach tells it to watch. Of course, the beast isn't just going to stand there. And trust me, you and I are about to see blood. All right, let's watch as Marach unleashes a terrifying power called the Abyss of Corruption. That monster didn't stand a chance. Marach stepped closer, ready to end it. He knew his aura could literally rot away any living thing instantly. He felt pretty good about finally activating that high-level corruption scripture. The monster just smiled, but the corruption rosary was already doing its job. Now, Marach could pick exactly which part of that creature would rot first. Total decay was coming, and the beast panicked. It watched in horror as its own hand just crumbled away completely. Marach mocked the thing, asking if it could even heal from this. The creature stared, unable to tell if it was rotting or trying to regrow. Marach didn't wait around. Trust me, what happens next is absolutely cold-blooded. He swung his blade. The weak monster stared and begged him to stop. But for this enemy, time was up. Marach's sword was already carving through. He sliced through what was left of that monster with zero hesitation. Victory was his. he told his goddess the job was finally done. He held out a pink energy orb that the goddess also reached for. This glowing relic was the ultimate gift our main character had for her. As she took it, Marach asked her to break one more seal. Suddenly, a massive green light exploded out, swallowing everything around him. When the light faded, Marach was still standing there, holding that sphere. His green eye scanned the area. That part of the city was still standing. Then he saw someone coming. It looked like a very familiar face. He seemed pretty excited to see her. They definitely had a history together. It was a young girl with bandages, just like the goddess used. She looked at Marach and slowly placed her bandaged hand on her face. "You saw this coming, right?" Marach just gave her a knowing smile. He touched her cheek to confirm she really was his divine goddess. His real smile said it all, but wait, she was just a child. This little girl asked Marach why she hadn't returned to her adult form. When he tried to ask her something, she just leaned in, listening closely. He needed to know if another god's power was in that vessel. He wanted that power for himself, but she was already turning into dust. Even so, the girl reached her bandaged hand out toward the fading particles. She tried so hard, pushing both hands toward the remnants of her divinity. She fell to her knees crying, knowing she couldn't hold on to it. Marach just smiled and told her she didn't need to try that hard. He suggested she should just come back and stay by his side. She calmed down and hugged him tightly as things got more chaotic. Looking at him, she cried about being stuck in this tiny body forever. Holding the green orb, she told him the seal was finally broken.